How you doing? This is a re-upload of a video that I made a few days ago regarding an A major triad and some modes that can go with it. I want to thank Barry Saxo on Reddit for pointing out that I mixed up my Lydian and Mixolydian scales. The content itself is correct, but I'm going to be probably hilariously re-editing this video so that the content matches the vocabulary. Once again, thank you, Barry Saxo on Reddit. How you doing, and welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed, and this is Just Play It. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about how every scale is also a chord, and that every time you learn a chord, you should learn the corresponding scales that go with it. So for this example, we're going to talk about a movable chord, and we're going to talk about 3 different scales that go with it. Before we get started, please remember to ring the bell and subscribe so that you know when your next lesson is coming. Let's take a look at our first chord that we're going to talk about. The first chord that I'm going to talk about is an A major chord. Now this is a movable chord. We're only going to play the 3 strings that our fingers would be touching. So if I played it with 3 fingers, our fingers would only be touching strings 2, 3, and 4. I play this as a bar. But if we play it here as A, if we move it 2 frets forward, it becomes B. And if we move it 1 fret forward, it can become C. So by just playing only those 3 strings, we can develop every major chord that we could use. So starting with this as our example, we have our A triad. In this case, we're going to have the notes E, A, and C sharp. Now from this particular chord, what we're going to try to do is develop 3 scales. Now I'm going to include the music with the scales so that you could follow along and play. The first one is called an A Ionian scale, which is basically an A major scale, except we're going to play it different than you would normally see it. We're going to start with our pinky here on A, and we're going to play this predominantly in 2nd position. There will be some movement involved. So our pattern is going to go like this: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. Now we need to get a G sharp, which is going to be here on our 1st fret of our 3rd string. G sharp. And then you can either use the same finger to go to A, or you could just switch to your 2nd finger. So that's the first half of this. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. From here we have kind of a standard box scale. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And then we would play our A triad. Now, try not to include, in this particular case, the 5th string, the bass note. I know it's an open A and you can add to it. We're also trying not to include our 1st string, the E. We're only trying to play these 3 notes as a triad. This might be a little difficult for people who are beginners, but if you've been playing for a while, it shouldn't be that hard to do. Let's practice this a couple of times. I'm going to give you a count in, and we will be playing in 1/8 notes. So I'm going to strike the chord, and then I'm going to start counting with what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Noticed how I started playing my chord on beat number 4. This was just to establish that the chord is part of this scale. And then I played it again at the very end of my scale. So that is an A Ionian scale. Next, what we're going to do is an A Lydian scale. This means that we're going to be changing one of our notes. We're actually going to be adding a note D sharp into our scale system. This means that we've also kind of changed the key. So even though we're playing an A chord, we're not going to be playing in the key of A. We are now going to be playing in the key of E, which is why we're adding the note D sharp into it. The reason this works is because A is a major chord in the key of E. It's the fourth letter in the sequence. So when you do that, you get to use this version of the scale with it. So once again, we're going to start with that A major triad. But now what's going to happen is, while we're staying in the same position, we're going to be modifying one of our notes. So we're going to use A, B, D sharp. Then we're going to go to D sharp here. D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So once again, there's our first half. A, B, D sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Now from here we keep going. A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. If we play the whole thing together, we'll have A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. So once again, we're going to try to play this with a little bit of time. We're going to play it in the exact same format we did with the A Ionian scale. So I'm going to give you a count. We're going to strum the chord on beat number 4, and then we're going to start the scale on beat number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once again, that was an A Lydian scale. Basically, we're starting on the note A and going to the note A, but using the notes of an E major scale. So last for this little sequence, we're going to do an A Mixolydian scale. In A Mixolydian, there should be a little bit less movement because I don't have to actually switch into first position to get our G sharp. So if we play this, it'll start like this. A, B, D sharp, D, E, F sharp, regular G, and then A. So there's our first half. Now from here we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, regular G, and then A again. So putting that all together, we have A, B, E sharp, D, E, F sharp, regular G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, regular G, A. So let's try that again. Give you a count in, same format as everything else. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're going to do now is I'm going to play each one, and I'm going to put a piano playing the chord A in the background. And this way you can hear how the scale affects each system. So we're going to start with our A Ionian, then our A Lydian, and then our A Mixolydian. So I'll give you a count in, and everything in this case is going to start on beat 1 because I'm not doing everything on one instrument. So once 1 starts, we start each scale. So let's start with our A Ionian scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice how that scale just fits right over the A chord and is kind of homogeneous. Everything just kind of works together perfectly. And that's because it's just a normal A major scale. Now let's try our A Lydian. One, two, three, four. Notice how that scale kind of sounds a little floaty. The Lydian and Mixolydian scales kind of have this weird effect on it, making it seem out of place. The reason why is we're changing the leading tone. Technically, we want to hear that leading tone of D sharp to E and end on an E chord, but because we're not ending on an E chord and we're getting the G sharp to A, it still reinforces our leading tone, but makes the rest of it sound kind of floaty. Last, we have our A Mixolydian, which is going to come from the key of D. This will have the effect of basically turning it into an A7 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. This chord really just wants to pull to D because we've kind of turned the chord into that A7, and that A7 contains the leading tone pushing to the D major chord. What I'd like you to try to do is basically just practice along. Listen to how each scale affects the chords. If you like what you're doing, please subscribe and remember to ring that bell. As I said earlier, it'll help you know when your next lesson is coming. If you have any questions or compliments, please put them in the comments below. Compliments are nice, but questions let me know that you're working on these things. If you have a moment, please check out my Patreon page. Even a donation as simple as $1 could start helping me find time to practice more often. I hope this video really helped you out. Good luck and good practice.